The entertaining Talkin' Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I'm going to dive into a bunch of topics that came out late last night, early today, about the football team. One thing that I'm waiting on, this was supposed to be the deadline for Marcus Golden, July 22nd, when the New York Giants tendered him. I have not heard anything. I have not seen any updates on that in terms of it getting backed up. But if that's the case, I would think Marcus Golden is officially a New York Giant. Maybe it's at the conclusion of July 22nd. I've yet to hear anything, and we'll see if that's official by tomorrow. But if it is, Golden will be with the New York Giants for the tender price tag of $4.1 million. I'm also going to jump a little bit into the Deandre Baker case, as something came out from the Miami Herald updating the case as the case continues to have twists and turns, and we'll see how it ultimately plays out. Also, I'm going to jump into rookies reporting to training camp. That is official. It will be tomorrow. I'll pull up the exact tweet. As, it was reported late yesterday that may not be the case and that the Giants may actually back it up even further. That did not happen. The rookies and quarterbacks will be at training camp officially by tomorrow. In addition to that, I wanted to talk about briefly what, I forgot who it was. It might have been Pat Leonard. I'll pull up the exact tweet when I get to it. Talked about with Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard, and Evan Ingram are all already in East Rutherford, I believe, along with Darnay Holmes, training together before the start of training camp, as you always like to hear that as the players are getting ready for the 2020 season. But like I said, we'll start off with the Deandre Baker update, talk about that, and give my opinion on that. And to be honest with you, from what I read, I don't know exactly what this means other than the fact that I'm incredibly anxious to see how this plays out and very confused. Let's put it that way. But let's jump into the quote about Deandre Baker. This, like I said, from the Miami Herald. The Miami Herald reported on Tuesday that the Broward County State Attorney's Office is still determining how to proceed with the case. According to the report, no date has been set for a decision. The state attorney's office has not yet decided whether to press charges against Dunbar and Baker. A Brevard prosecutor on Monday said no date has been set for a decision. The investigation has more turns and twists than a Barry Sanders highlight reel, prosecutor Alex Urella told the court. As evidence keeps coming in, evaluations change. And all I can say to that is, I don't know if this is good or bad news for Deandre Baker, the fact that the court can't come to a decision on whether or not to charge him. All I could say is the longer this plays out, the less of a chance he will be with the New York Giants this year, or at least to start the season. It also said later in this article that the Giants have told Baker to stay away basically until the conclusion of the case. So hopefully it gets dismissed. According to this, they have not decided whether or not to charge him based on the evidence that's been provided. It also goes on to say what his lawyer talks about. Brad Cohn and I reported to the FBI and to the detective what was going on. The detective triangulated Mr. Baker's phone to my house in Fort Lauderdale, where it was myself, Brad, and Deandre texting Johnson. Johnson was the guy that was supposedly the coach that was dropping off the money as the potential bribe. And the reason we did that was simple. Patrick Patel told WFAN, if there's a hostage situation and they call you, you don't say, hang up the phone. What do you say? Where are you? How much? Give me proof of life. Give me the information. The text message going from Baker to Johnson were to solicit the information of the extortionists. We knew they were going to Grieco's office because that's what was told to us. And we reported that. Never did Baker nor his attorney pay the extortionists any money. And the reason we didn't is because we didn't need the affidavits. So that's what his attorney goes on to say. And like I said, we'll see how this all plays out. And maybe Baker will get off, and maybe he won't. It's just been a crazy, crazy story to cover. Next up, this is from Pat Leonard. The first group of rookies, quarterbacks, injured players is traveling today to New Jersey, New York City. Testing starts tomorrow. Some of those players are already in the area too. Bottom line, Giants are bringing players in as the NFL and NFL Players Association continue to negotiate. Now, that what they're negotiating about is what I kind of talked about yesterday, the preseason games, things like that, how they're going to handle training camp. So there you have it. All the rookies, quarterbacks, obviously Daniel Jones, injured players, guys like Ryan Conley, maybe a guy like John Halpio, if he's going to be there, will be with the New York Giants by tomorrow. And to my knowledge, unless it changes, July 28th should be the start officially of training camp, where all the players report to camp, guys including like Saquon Barkley and Golden Tate. And then finally, Jordan Rannon had to report this, and it was all over Twitter. Giants players have already begun making their way back to New Jersey in preparation for training camp, even though their report date is on hold. Daniel Jones had a throwing session with Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard, and Evan Ingram Tuesday at a high school field in East Rutherford. Along with that, I saw on Instagram that Darnay Holmes was at that meeting as well, as he continues to try to improve his game as he starts his NFL career. So I want to talk about all those things briefly. The Deandre Baker case, we're just going to have to sit and wait and hope it gets sorted out before the start of the season, because if it does, good chance he's a New York Giant. Obviously, we don't know where that's going right now. You know, you can only read too much into it with what his lawyer has to say. That's his job to defend his client. But if the fact that the court has not decided whether or not to charge him, I would think they'd have to come up with a decision sooner than later. And if they decide to charge him, that case could get backed up, because when you think about it with the COVID and everything else, I'm sure that there's a backup in the court system right now. So we'll see. If it's thrown out, expect Baker to be a Giant this year. As far as the other news goes, I mean, it's great. You know, we're going to get to talk about and hear about our players starting tomorrow at training camp. Now, I'm sure there won't be a lot of news on the field. I think it'll just be for testing early on as they make sure that their players are healthy. I went over the protocol yesterday. They're going to make sure that their players are safe, but it's nice to see that the players are already doing their due diligence, working together with drills and things like that, miles away from where they will be training soon, as you saw the video yesterday on Twitter. So there you have it. Just wanted to talk briefly about some Giants updates. I'll have a bunch of videos up as we get closer and closer to the start of what we hope is the 2020 regular season. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.